Continuing our algebra review now leads us to the topic of polynomials and factoring. All the arithmetic that you need to be able to do to manipulate polynomial expressions from algebra. So this video this lesson I'll probably split into maybe 2 or 3 videos, just going over all the different kind of details discussing polynomial arithmetic. So starting off, we're just going to go over this first page. We're dealing with addition and subtraction. The instructions say to subtract these polynomials. Subtraction is technically another form of addition because subtracting is really just adding the opposite. So the main rule to remember here is whenever you're doing addition or subtraction with polynomials is you're going to add and subtract what are called like terms. Like terms are terms that have the same variable with the same exponent. So, for example, 7x to the third is a like term with 2x to the third. 9x is a like term with the negative 3x. So you're only going to add and subtract like terms, or the main thing you want to remember when doing addition and subtraction. So let's remove these parentheses and then start combining the like terms together. The first set of parentheses is completely unnecessary because there's no negative sign here to indicate that there's going to be sign changes. So you can remove this pair of parentheses without doing anything to the polynomial inside. Copy it down as 7x to the third minus 8x squared plus 9x minus 6. Now, you're subtracting this next 4-term polynomial, so that minus in front of the grouping causes you to distribute the negative to all 4 terms inside. So you do want to make sure you change all 4 signs. So that'll start off, that's a positive 2x cubed inside the parentheses. It'll change to a negative 2x cubed. This will become a plus 6x squared plus 3x and then minus 9. All right. Then you just want to identify what your like terms are. You've got the x cubed terms here and here, so you can combine their coefficients. Positive 7 with negative 2 combines to a positive 5. So that'll combine to my simplified answer is 5x to the third. Negative 8x squared has a like term matches with positive 6x squared. So negative 8 with positive 6 leaves you with negative 2x squared. Notice you're only combining the coefficients with addition and subtraction. So it just sort of, combines the coefficients and leaves the variable with whatever they add up or subtract to. Positive 9x and positive 3x add to positive 12x. Negative 6 with negative 9 combines to a negative 15. Now, the purpose of this was just to subtract. You don't have to do any more arithmetic to this. You're just looking to get a drill on combining like terms and simplifying a polynomial with addition or subtraction. So once you've got the final simplified result and there are no more like terms to combine, you're finished. You've done it. Multiplication. There are various forms of multiplication with polynomials. Probably the easiest is taking a monomial and multiplying it by a polynomial like this. The property you're going to want to use here is referred to as the distributive property. So when the distributive property kicks in with multiplication, you take this negative 3a, and when you say that you distribute it to the 3 terms in the polynomial, that means you multiply it with them individually, one at a time. So multiplication is involved here, so you'll need to remember some properties of exponents whenever you're dealing with variables and multiplying. So negative 3a times 2a squared, multiply those two together first to give you negative 6 and then a to the third. Multiplying the a's causes you to add the exponents. So your first term in the answer will be negative 6 a to the third. And then negative 3a times positive 4a becomes negative 12a squared. And then finally, negative 3a times negative 9 becomes a positive 27a. Okay. Remember, the point of this problem was just to get you to multiply these polynomials together. So once you've done that and you've got the simplified result, don't do anything else to it. Some of you may be seeing this word factoring up here. Factoring does come later in this lesson, but we're going over all the rudiments of polynomial algebra. So just when you're prompted to multiply polynomials, that's the final result. You stop right there. You've achieved the goal of the problem. Okay. Another thing you may recall from algebra is whenever you're multiplying a binomial with a binomial, you have to use what's referred to as FOIL. FOIL is an acronym that basically tells you an efficient way of multiplying these binomials out. The F in FOIL stands for first. The O stands for outer. Oops, A-O-T-E-R. O-U-T-E-R, that's it. I stands for inner, and L stands for last. That basically tells you how to pair these things together when you're multiplying them out. So let me write the letters in F-O-I-L up here and just kind of demonstrate how that works. F stands for first, meaning a binomial times a binomial, you can multiply the first term of this one times the first term of that one. 2x times 3x is going to give you 6x squared. The O in FOIL stands for outer, so the outer ones in each binomial are the 2x times the positive 5. Outer times outer is going to give you a plus 10x. And then the I in FOIL stands for inner. The inner parts of each binomial, the negative 7 here times the 3x here, they multiply to give you a negative 21x. And then L stands for last. The last term in each binomial, negative 7 times positive 5 multiplies to negative 35. Now, 9 times out of 10, the O and the I step of FOIL, the O and the I in FOIL, are almost always going to be like terms. So you want to combine those together in one final step to get your final simplified answer is 6x squared minus 11x, positive 10x with negative 21x, that'll give you negative 11x, and then minus 35. And that's the goal of the problem. The instruction said to multiply, and we have multiplied these binomials together to create this trinomial here. So that's the goal of the problem. No need to go any further. All right. Now, multiplying this, same idea. This is a 4x plus 9 squared, and I need to kind of reiterate something from properties of exponents. Let me put a little warning here. Sometimes you may be tempted to make this true. 4x plus 9 squared is not as simple as just doing 4x squared plus 9 squared. You're trying to apply some kind of distributive property of exponents, and there is no distributive property for exponents. So be careful not to do that. That's very, very bad algebra. So what you want to do is realize when you square a quantity, you're multiplying it by itself. So to make sure you get this down pat, take that 4x plus 9 binomial and write it beside itself. That's what it means to square it. So it should look similar to this last problem we did, because you're ultimately doing a binomial times a binomial. And then you can follow through with FOIL. First times first gives you 16x squared. Outer times outer gives you plus 36x. Inner times inner gives you another plus 36x. And then last times last gives you a plus 81. And true to form, like I said, 9 times out of 10, the O and the I are going to be the same terms. So your final simplified answer here requires you to get those together. 16x squared plus 72x, and then plus 81. Has that one completely simplified. Okay. All right. So going further, we're going to start talking about factoring review next. This was just a review over some of the adding and subtracting and multiplying polynomial arithmetic. So I'll pause this or stop this video, and we'll resume with the next video starting the factoring review.